On a knowledge rampage. Ad tech, ad talk, it's a live Q&A. Buy side, sell side, clearing the way. CEO spitting truth, no delay. Chalice and Gamera owning the day. Adam drops gems, he's breaking it down. How the buy side spins, dollars around. Gareth steps up with that data finesse. Selling it right, no room for a guess. The mics are hot, the beats hit hard. Fans throw their hands high in the yard. Deals and impressions like a verbal sprint. Breaking it down with an ad tech tint. Ad tech, ad talk, it's a live Q&A. Buy side, sell side, clearing the way. CEO spitting truth, no delay. Chalice and Gamera owning the day.
The AdTech Ad Talk Show is produced by Let's Do Video, bringing you the best insights on buy side and sell side in the ad tech world. We have welcome our host Gareth, and sitting in for Adam's special guest Jay Friedman. Yay!
Yay! Welcome everyone. I'm so happy to do this show today with Adam, without Adam, who's on vacation, but I do love Adam. But I'm so happy to have Jay. Somebody asked me on the internet, like probably 6 months ago, hey Gareth, who would you want to do like anything with? Who would you interview? Who would you ask questions? And I said Jay. So now he has to live up to it, and you all get to watch. And I'm so happy to have you here today. Please, this still is AdTech Ad Talk. If you have questions for me or Jay, especially if you're here from the sell side, my goodness, you get to ask Jay Friedman a question. Lucky you. And we are going to cover as much as we can today about AI, about all sorts of things going on. I might talk a little bit about transaction ID, but like,
no, let's talk about plumbing. Let's just talk about plumbing in general.
I agree.
Plumbing,
because I've been doing a lot of talking about transaction ID. And just so you're all aware of Jay's references, we've been talking about toilets and plumbing for the past half hour in preparation for the show.
Yes,
so
we'll get deep into that.
Before we go there, Jay, can I ask you, tell me about your journey for all of my sell side people who are here who don't know about Goodway and don't know about you and don't know like who you are. I'd love to hear you present the tale.
Yeah, I tend to shorten this quite a bit and then let you ask questions if you want, because I assume most things about my past aren't that interesting. But so if you haven't heard of Goodway, you probably should have, sell side or not. I mean, I think they've done some amazing work, and obviously I was a big part of it for a long time. Joined it almost 20 years ago, and essentially it was a print promotions company when I joined, and I said, God, all the people that you're selling to are starting to buy digital stuff too, and maybe we should see what we can offer them. And this was right as like Right Media was being formed and programmatic was happening. And so I realized, I looked at programmatic and I said, like, this could be the future. Like, this is the way all advertising could and should be bought if it pans out right. Obviously in 2006, I didn't know, but so we got into it really early, and kind of, I think, carved ourselves out as experts in programmatic. And now today, Goodway is not only essentially like a full service digital media agency, but there's a consultancy and a performance marketing arm to it that like they do really, really good work.
That's amazing. I mean, did Goodway buy on Right Media? Were you guys like active in Right Media?
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
So here's some of the fun conversations I remember having. First time I met Brian Stempek at the trade desk.
Yeah.
I said, I already have a seat on AdX and Right Media. Why would I pay more to buy on a DSP? And he was like, yeah, maybe you need to get it better. He was very nice about it, and very quickly, like, I realized, okay, there's more exchanges. Okay, there's going to be a need to do this. Okay, there's a value, right? So, we got into DSPs early also, but but it was that early that we were buying on AdX directly, on Right Media directly.
Yeah, there was a UI for AdX. I remember this.
Yeah,
you could actually log into the AdX UI and buy stuff. That's crazy.
It was great. It was a blast.
I mean, so interesting. Okay, I have a question about that. Did it perform? Like, what were the campaigns you were running in 2007? Like,
does anybody know?
What
I
is
mean,
performance?
we did. I really believe we did as good of a job, if not better than any at the time, of doing like match market testing and like incrementality testing, like MMM level incrementality
Yeah.
kind of stuff, right? So like we never ran a campaign without trying to measure some business level outcome for the client. And sometimes they were proxy metrics, right? So like the pixel tech and everything at the time wasn't advanced enough to maybe capture the full sale or to do it right and pass the revenue or whatever. We always tried, but compared to where it is now, I mean, it was nowhere near that sophisticated. Today we have 12 tools for the one or two we had then. Um, but it convinced me, and I really had a pretty high bar because I don't want to walk into a client and say like, let's buy campaign number 2 now. And they say, well, how do we know campaign number 1 worked? And me be like, no, 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 look over here. I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like I remember some really early stuff where I looked at it and I said, I don't think anybody else is looking this deeply. This is pretty cool.
What you just described, where you were like, yeah, we're doing real incrementality like monitoring in 2007 on campaigns, and like not as sophisticated as today. Most people don't do that today. Like that's it's not a thing today. Like I'm astounded. Like what are the 12 tools? Like what do you mean? Like what's a sophisticated agency doing today? This is crazy.
Yeah, so I think I think there's a number of things. It's a little bit of probably like a 3 by 3 matrix or 3 by 4, 4 by 4, whatever. But there's true incrementality. There's just MMM type of incrementality and measurement. There's measuring all this within a platform and then within a channel and then overall.
Hmm.
And so I think like it's very easy to look in your meta performance and say like we kicked ass or whatever. The story I always tell clients is like, have you ever run a brand campaign and 2 weeks later your search person comes in and says, I am crushing it, by the way? And it's like you don't say. And that would be because we just spent, you're spending 100 grand a week on search or whatever, and we just launched a $1 million brand campaign. Like there's demand harvesting and there's demand creation. This is how I break it down.
Cool.
Demand harvesting, it exists for the category. I want to go buy running shoes, right? And so I go search running shoes or on TikTok or Google or an LLM, it doesn't matter. And as New Balance or as Nike is a running shoe, I could be a startup running shoe. And I just make sure my ad is front and center and I just suck some of the demand
Hmm.
out of that flow. But at some point, it becomes too expensive to suck more demand out of that flow, and you have to create demand for your brand specifically, right? And so it's just about the performance curves of both the channels and the brand and how they work together to for marketers to measure. It's hard,
So
but
yeah, I mean, so I spent a lot of my time just complaining that programmatic is really bad at the harvesting. Like because compared to Meta, it's bad at it,
totally.
right? Like Meta's an amazing demand harvesting tool, and it would be nice if programmatic was a good harvesting tool. And I'm spending a lot of time trying to make it a better harvesting tool. But I'm really curious what you just described. I know lots of D2C companies. A lot of my buddies run D2C companies. After you maxed out your harvesting, and so you're spending $2 million a month on Facebook. You
Yeah.
can't your CPA can't go up anymore. You've tapped out scale.
Yep.
How do you grow up? Like what's the next step in growing up?
Yeah.
Because I
So the next stage, if you look 20 years out for that brand and you become Reese's, right? You become the Reese's peanut butter cups of whatever category you're in. Reese's, and they might disagree with me, but Reese's has generational brand awareness and affinity. And by generational, I mean there are people who could not see an ad for 3 years and would have zero decline in their preference or mental availability for Reese's,
Hmm.
right? The gap is I'm just sucking all the demand out of Meta and Google that I can to getting to that. And building brand equity into, they measure how much your logo is worth, essentially, like your brand equity. And I don't know, I saw one time Apple was like $500 billion, like just the brand itself.
Crazy.
And so building brand equity is what allows you to reduce your spend on Google and Meta and in the harvesting area dramatically over time. But it is a long-term game and it costs a lot of money. But if you want to grow beyond paying Google and Meta every day for everything you do, that's the only way to do it.
Hmm. Interesting. So it's basically you need to go acquire space in people's minds
That's
instead
it.
of ads on screens. And that's the only way to drive your CPAs down at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple ways to look at it. Like when I say candy bar, you say blank, right? So the mental availability, the unaided prompting, right? Because when you see these surveys, like which candy bar have you heard of recently? Three Musketeers, blah 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 blah, blah. And it's like you've already over primed the pump,
Hmm.
right? But if I say candy bar and you say blank, that's pretty valuable when you're walking into the grocery aisle and probably a likely predictor of what you might choose, right? Or if in a category, I mean, candy bars are not a bad category for this because there's not like a clear number one and number two, and then everything else is nothing.
Yeah.
Automotive is a really good example where there are like 15 brands that all have sustainable good market share. So when you get into that, it's not when I say car, you say blank. Like, what do you mean? What kind of car? But when I say off road, you say, when I say,
Yeah,
and
Jeep.
so, yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
I say Toyota, but hey, man, it's all good. Um, TRD, what up? But like, and so you have to pick what you want to own in the consumer's mind, such that when that situation comes up, they are choosing your brand and essentially you're converting demand harvesting from category search to brand search.
Hmm. And so to model this, you need cohorts. Is that the correct assumption? Where like you have to say, okay, I'm gonna spend this much money on a branding campaign. I'm gonna track the humans I got these ads to, because I don't know how you do this without doing that, and then monitor whether they're the average cost of a conversion for these humans over time versus a holdout group. It's like I can't imagine doing this any other way,
Yeah.
right? This is how
Well,
you gotta do it.
yeah, so it's a combination of how much did they buy during and slightly after the campaign. And like look back window is a really big deal. If you advertise, like think about like retail media. If you advertise gum or a bottle of soda, like your look back window should be like a couple days. If you're advertising laundry detergent, it should probably be like 3 months minimum, right? Like the chances I see a laundry detergent ad today and be like, you know what? I don't care if I need laundry detergent. I saw an ad for that laundry detergent and I am off to buy it, right? Whereas, again, gum and soda and stuff is much more. So I think that yes, you can measure some of that, but ultimately, like I think you asked most CMOs, like, hey, if in retail, I want to be the number one brand that people mention when they think value. If in sporting goods, I want to be the number one brand when I hear value, right? I think there are a lot of those segments that then map to cohorts, by the way,
Hmm.
right? Because there are consumers who don't care about value in sporting goods, right? They're like, I just want to buy the very, very best of the very whatever.
Sure.
And I've likened it to kind of like a sandbox where you dump a lot of sand from a lot of different sources, and you're going to have cohorts that essentially create like mounds where you have cohorts of people that have coalesced into identifiable characteristics. That doesn't mean there aren't audiences in other places. There isn't a single left-handed race car driver in Milwaukee that also likes value and sporting goods, but that's not a cohort.
Got it. So
This
this
is
is
deep into Jay's mind, and no one
I
is
love
enjoying
this.
this.
I love this. This
No,
is a this is a wonderful intellectual exercise for me. The reason I love this is I just don't think anyone does it. Do people actually do this?
yeah, yes,
Really?
yes. I mean, the most sophisticated brands are deep into this. They know this stuff. I mean, you look at classically trained P&G marketers, they think about this stuff all day long. The challenge, though, is is getting that strategy with fidelity through to the person who at 8:30 at night has to figure out how to buy the next Reddit ad,
Hmm.
right? Because as I heard a CMO once say, the strategies we create are brilliant, and when I see them executed in market, I'm horrified.
Interesting.
Right. And so that is, and like that's one of the companies I'm, kind of talking to right now and just really interested in is helping map the strategy with fidelity all the way through. Like that alone, and think about it like, you're headquartered in London and the Argentina team has to like take your strategy and map it all the way through to execution. Right.
Sure.
Like
Well, that's gonna get lost.
I'm
Yeah.
so I'm so
That
tired
sounds
thinking
like
about it.
chaos. It sounds terrible. We have a quick question, and then I have a question that you're
Okay.
gonna hate, but and well maybe love, but we'll see.
I love all
Um,
questions.
yeah, what do we got? Oh,
Well, let me read it out. Looks like we have a problem with the pop-up here, but
oh,
Okay.
no
Mike
worries.
Crawford says, do those brand lift studies that rely on a survey panel of those primed questions have value these days? I feel like they used to be all the rage.
So I'm not a research expert and I have not been able, I mean, I don't know the data of the aided or primed question correlation with like actual purchase, right? So if, and I think that's a great question that brands should be asking research providers is if I see an 8-point lift in aided brand awareness, right? This is a great question for YouGov or someone like that. Like, what is my market share outcome likely to be in my category and over how long?
Mm. I mean, I feel like there are also a lot of brand lift getting built into programmatic now, which I never saw, right? Like there was no like brand lift built into like right media. That wasn't the thing. AppNexus didn't consider it. We built incrementality holdouts and nobody used them. They were like, what are these confusing buttons with percentages to do this? Like that's for a holdout. But like there's like Cint and a few other companies now that do these brand surveys.
Yeah, so
Um,
I mean, we ran brand surveys. I remember probably 2012, we ran them in programmatic. And but that was also like I forget exactly the year, but like when viewability came around as
mhm.
like the ability to and, and I spent months with some of our data scientists trying to like pinpoint the value viewability and and in the end it turned out that advertising works. That's what viewability is. Um, is that if you have reasonably decent creative and someone sees the ad, you get a 7 to 9 point bump. Right? There you go. Moving on.
I mean, I love it. We'll get
Did
into
I,
viewability.
did I just
Uh,
take like 7 vendors out of business because I don't think you need them at
I
this
am
point?
well. So here's the thing. Okay, I'm gonna go hard on this one.
Let's do it.
I,
Let's go hard.
I'm a clicks guy. I think clicks
You
have
okay?
been wrongfully maligned. They've
Yeah,
been
really?
wrongfully maligned,
Really?
and I think that a click is a signal just like a view. And I would assume that from a recall perspective or from whatever, a view is worth 78 points, a click's probably worth 20. And that's all it is. That's how they should be viewed. It's like a click is just a strong signal. But people hate clicks. They hate them. They're like stop them with the clicks. I'm like, no, if it's a real human and they click an ad, that means something. That's a meaningful behavior for a human being to undertake, as long as it's on purpose. But that's why I love clicks.
I'm here to help. So, similar to in Arrested Development when he thought he was going to the Method 1 acting clinic and it was actually the methadone clinic.
Methadone clinic, yeah.
Yep, that's right. So I think you've gone to the Method 1 clinic.
Oh God.
But we're gonna help you out here. So
Let's do it.
So here's the thing. I think you are probably correct for intentional clicks within the cohort of people that ever clicks anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's such a small percent of the general population. I mean, you remember the natural born clicker study that 84 or 86% of all users literally never click an ad.
Yeah.
Like they took the whole bid stream, the whole ad delivery stream for a month or longer. And there were 84% or whatever, 86% of people who literally never clicked an ad at all. So now we've got this like narrow group. Then you've got intentional and unintentional. And so, and then separately, you've got all the bots that click like crazy. So it's not that I think intentional clicks are a bad proxy. It's that it's so hard to decipher which ones they are.
Mm.
Compare them to the group that never clicks at all because you won't get a good signal from most of your audience. And then most people are really bad at removing waste in programmatic, like really, really horrible.
Yeah.
And so, and so many clicks come from there. Like, I don't think there is a brand. I think I'll put out a challenge right here. I think, because we're going to go hard, just like the music in the beginning, right?
Please.
Okay, cool. So I think I could walk into 90% of companies, brands, and take whatever they're buying today programmatically and identify a minimum of 20% of just waste. Like, who tolerates that?
Yeah.
Right? Can you imagine if, like, I don't know, again, like, could you walk into Apple and be like, oh, wow, 20% of the iPhones you produce are bad? Like,
Yeah, don't work.
No, you cannot do that.
Yeah. I will concede that there are clickers. There are clicky humans. That's the thing. And then those are the people who do most of the clicking.
Yeah.
However, Meta and Google and all these companies have managed to sew up the bottom of the funnel post-click conversion like thing.
Well, when that's how you measure
under wraps.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm gonna ruin your day.
Please.
We ran a study at Goodway, and we took our entire file, right, our entire log level file, and we found our clickers. And then we went out and we set different bid levels for those clickers. We lost $1,000 CPM bids. No joke. $1,000 CPM bids on those users. More than, like, I think it was 70% of the time.
No way.
Okay. Because Google
knew.
Valued those users. They were like, we will pay.
When at any cost. Yeah.
We will pay 1 yuan for everyone who never clicks. CPM. But we will pay $1,400.
Yeah, they're unlimitedly valuable because it's a human who's going to click something.
You're right. They have sewed it up. They've absolutely sewed it up.
Yeah.
But I don't want to even compete in that space.
Yeah.
Like, as a marketer. And I don't like that my money's being spent that way either, but okay.
Sure. I mean, even if the CPA backs out really low, they're doing a blend, right? They're probably someone who's already. I mean, here's the only thing. What I might say is the Venn diagram, right, of people who were already going to buy and are clickers. I guess that explains the $1,400 CPM. They're like, they find these unicorns and they're like, all right, this is someone who's gonna buy it and they're gonna click the ad. This is but they managed to find them. They are a thing.
When
right?
Mary, who is 68, in Des Moines, Iowa, is showered with free Google services, and she has no idea why. Now you know.
I I I would hope though that one day we can find these people. Because if Facebook can find them, we should
Yeah,
be able
do
to find them on the open web. Like
sure.
there's a lot of money. Brands spend a lot of money, man. It's
Yeah, and look,
real.
you can, but that's where again 15% of the audience is. I'd rather
Yeah.
spend my time finding the other 85.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I
where
think
you're going to grow
there's
your
really
brand.
something too. I really do like identify with this argument. So there's a guy named Eric Tilbury who's always talking about this too because he sells an MMM, and so he loves to talk about this. Um, but it's programmatic or their billboards. Okay, I love that. I want to go back. I want to go back to strategy translating to execution. And
Yeah,
now I'm gonna throw out the buzzword. Is that an AI thing? Is this like something that AI lends itself to? Is
yeah, absolutely.
actually like that? Is that so how should agencies, how should the world on the buy side of programmatic think about AI and what does it mean for the sell side?
Yeah, let me just probably I want to start with the fact because I talk very freely
Please.
about things that AI can and should do and do better than people and everything. No one has ever come to me and said, when I go bowling, I really miss the kid that sets the pins up by hand, right? And so when I talk on LinkedIn about things that AI can do better, people are like, but jobs. And I'm like, where were you when the pin kid got fired, right? Where were you then? Where were you when we went to Easy Pass or whatever it is, and the toll people didn't need to work anymore, and you get to go through at 60 now instead of 4? Where were you then?
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk freely about what things that AI can do. I am pro human evolution to the point where we are going to figure this out and we're all going to be really in good shape and have jobs and all this stuff. But that doesn't mean in the meantime there aren't some things that AI can do better. So strategy to execution. So maintaining that fidelity, right? I mean, if you imagine it down each step of the way, it is a lot uh, like a radio signal being broadcast from one tower to the next and trying to be repeated. And just the further apart they are, at some point, there's degradation. And there's also a lack of reality in the highest level strategy room about what is doable on Meta or Reddit or TikTok.
Hmm.
Right. So it's like, what we're going to do? We're going to create this brand strategy that does X, Y, and Z. And it's like, by the time you execute that, even with best practices on TikTok, it doesn't fit exactly the strategy you created. And that's okay. The tension there is good, right? Because you can't create your strategy for TikTok itself, right? Because then it wouldn't
Sure.
fit. And or programmatic or anything else. And so there's tension there. But the value of AI, and this company 99 Ravens that I've met, the value of AI is the ability to help a CMO see where the strategic fidelity is breaking and just manage it.
Hmm.
Right. And so I think that's where the AI component is. I also think, incentives are usually perverse, right? They're usually the wrong incentives. So it's like, okay, how does the programmatic team get evaluated? CPM. Okay, so what's our strategy? It's to become the premium whatever. And it's like, wait, so your strategy to become the premium whatever is to buy the cheapest, like, stop it now, you know? And that's again where some of the fidelity breaks down. I also think, like, there aren't there aren't rules unless someone did something to break them. Like, there was probably like no thou shalt not murder until someone murdered someone, was like, wait, this is really not good.
It wasn't necessary. Yeah.
Right. Like, it wasn't necessary. No one ever thought
Yeah,
of
it
it.
wasn't
Like, yeah,
necessary.
okay.
Yeah.
yeah, I'll kill the squirrel and eat the squirrel. But other than that, I think we're all good, right? Oh God, what did Johnny just do? So we got to make a law against that. But and so I think you look across brands and strategically and how things end up moving to execution. And like, why do you think procurement? It's like because people were doing sweetheart deals
Yeah.
and they needed an independent voice to make sure that the company was getting the best deal. But the problem with so many functions existing as a check and a balance to how other people would do it is that the people who would have done right by the company and just done a good job anyway now have this absolute mess to navigate,
Sure.
right, in order to do their jobs.
Yeah. Bureaucracies exist for a reason. Like in the world, there's no, but eventually bureaucracies bloat and then things break. Um, and I think that your point about CPMs is a really important one because us on the sell side, right? So us sell side people, the receivers in programmatic, we just see people setting up campaigns where they're like, yeah, as long as I hit this CTR, we're good. Or as long as I hit this CPM, we're good. And that's all that we hear. That's what comes to us. And that's all that we're aware of because we can't see anything on the other side. We have no idea. And I
Yeah.
think, yeah, and that's problematic. Like we don't know what to make.
To quote the great Andre 3000, well, yes and no. I think that I can understand how it feels problematic, but at the same time, as a publisher, I want you, I spoke at an Ad Monsters conference maybe like 2 years ago. I don't
Yeah.
think I scored very high on the popularity surveys on the way out, because I said, if you're a financial money market oriented publication and you're also one, like, how are you really differentiated? Like Wall Street Journal's differentiated,
Yeah.
right? Like maybe Financial Times, I think is probably differentiated. But like beyond the top 2 to 5 or whatever, I don't know how many, but you get down to like number 6 through 20. And how different are they? And the answer is generally not very different.
Yeah.
And so that's when it comes to we need the lowest CPM.
Okay.
It
I
doesn't.
have a I have an
Go ahead.
alternative perspective for you. I have a
Okay.
fun one. You're gonna like this.
Let's
So
do it.
part of what my company does and part of our business is we monitor the value of users over time
Mhm.
and we allow publishers to cohort them. The goal of what we do in this part of our business is to tell publishers, one, these are the users who are valuable for you. This is how valuable they are. When publishers know that, that can inform, one, which new users they get to their site. So publishers become marketers because they have LTV monitoring, they have
Good.
brand building, it's a thing. And two, what they should be writing. So it's a fascinating flywheel where the more data they can get from marketers on on valuation, right? These are the people we want because these people are driving incrementality for us. The more publishers can grow themselves to attract those people. But that breaks if buyers don't buy people who are actually incremental, right? Like that's the key. Because the key needs to be the feedback loop for performance has to be there for publishers. Publishers need to know that this is what buyers want. This is translating to incrementality for buyers. It's translating to conversions for buyers. And when we talk about publishers as brands, if they're only being valued on the value of their brand, the feedback loop won't be there.
Let me go to Amazon today and try to buy a USB-C cable.
Oh, it's
Right.
terrible.
There's
It's terrible.
Anchor,
Yeah.
and I don't know, maybe mono something or another, mono price, or I don't know.
No, but non-anchor is 20 Chinese brands that I've never heard of. But
And then there are 20 brands, no one's ever heard of them. And frankly, as long as it's like a 4.5 or better, and there's at least 10,000 reviews or whatever, you're like, all right, 10,000 reviews, 9,500 are AI, 500 are real people. All right, I'm good, right? And so that's what the publisher needs to stay out of. So the like there's a brand in camera gear called Neewer,
Yeah,
Neewer,
yeah, I know who you're talking about.
right?
Yeah.
But they were that at one point. They were undifferentiated, etc. But they figured out a way to rise above that malaise and become what to some people would be like a K&F or some other camera type, like heard of stuff. That's what a publisher has to do. Is if you are in the 20 USB-C cable companies nobody's ever heard of or cares about, right? If you're one of the financial publications that's undifferentiated, then price becomes the thing, even if you have theoretically users that are valuable. So as a brand in the content you produce, you have to become differentiated enough in some way, right? So financial publications, stay on the analogy, maybe you become the bonds and CDs like go to, or the money markets go to, or the whatever. But being a generalist financial publication is really hard to get into that top
Mm.
tier.
So when people, I I would just say why? So when people are optimizing programmatic campaigns, are they looking for things that they recognize and willing to pay more for those? Um, is that actually a thing?
Numerators are hard to overcome, right? So when you do a cost per conversion or a cost per whatever, I can't tell you how many publishers have said to me, like, yeah, but our audience. And I'm like, but the audience you want to sell me is $8.
Yeah.
And I can get that audience is available, maybe not in that content space, but if it's available for $2, you'll never, ever overcome the 4-to-1 numerator problem, ever.
Hmm.
So now how are you going to compete? Well, but then you're gonna push the whole web to be this downgrade. And I'm like, yeah, I gotta be honest, I've got to spend my clients' money wisely. I am not here to like build the internet of the future and reward and like you want to get into like the existential conversation. I'm the wrong guy.
Yeah. I
Not to you.
so
That's why I say to publishers.
no. I think it's actually a really important point because when you think about what Facebook is doing and what their world is, they live in a numerator world. Like they're numerator people. And but yet the CPMs on Facebook are wildly high. They're wildly high. And because there's no brand value in serving to Aunt Susie's page where she's talking about like baking pies. There's no brand value there, and buyers know that. There's no brand value in being having an ad on Meta. In fact, there might be negative brand equity in that. Like it's perfectly possible. Like, oh, this is but they crush the numerator. And I spend my life trying to tell publishers, don't artificially inflate your numerator. Don't do it. It's not even if you can do it for a little bit, it's not sustainable. It's because you're not going to fight it. There's a saying like when people are trying to lose weight, you can't outrun a bad diet. And it means you can't go to the gym so much if you go
No,
home and you eat 50 donuts. There's no amount of gymming that will solve that.
nope.
And I think it's the same thing here. And that's so the conversations I'm constantly having with publishers are just like, look, take the feedback that you're getting from the buy side and do more of the things that they're paying for. Like that's it.
Yeah, if I want to sell, my used mouse on eBay and no one will bid more than $3 for it, despite that I am very passionate that by buying a
I
new
love my
mouse,
mouse. Yeah.
right? If you buy a new one, you're using plastic and it's ruining the environment. Like you don't understand this. Just pay $10. I can scream into the wind all I want and nobody cares. So I have no high horse of ad tech,
Yeah.
right? And of pricing and everything else. It doesn't matter. People just do what their incentives are aligned with.
I just hope that most buyers care about the numerator. That's the controversial one for me right now. Is I'm basically being told a lot of buyers don't care about the
No,
numerator, which drives me crazy.
the numerator being cost. right?
Yeah, yeah.
Cost per.
I'm being told buyers don't care about performance. Because for me, the numerator is a proxy for performance. Like CPM is not the numerator. The numerator is the outcome, right? It's whatever the buyer wants.
Well, no,
And
yeah,
yeah,
sorry. So what I was saying was on a cost per sale basis,
yeah,
cost is the numerator, sale is the denominator.
right.
Right. I think what you're hearing is they don't care about the sale, they just care about the cost.
Yeah, that's
And
what I'm hearing, and that's frustrating because how do we survive in that?
I mean, the, again, not to get existential, but like, won't those brands just slowly fade away, and haven't they in some cases?
I hope so.
Yeah, eventually, like,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
if a brand is really shitty at capital allocation,
Yeah,
whether it's in like, you think about like retail, it's like if they consistently pick bad places to build their stores because they're seeking a low cost of land, then ultimately they're going to go out of business, right? Their performance will be terrible and they can't compete. And so you're buying land in advertising, you're buying square spaces or, rectangle spaces. And if you constantly just buy bad land, you will ultimately not do well.
super interesting. Like we think about the publishing space dying. There is a natural churn out of shitty brands. Like that's a thing. They should go out of business if they spend money so badly. Um,
Yeah,
I
so
I
the
gotta
thing
noodle
with
that. Yeah,
publishing and agencies are in a similar boat. The supply is greater than the demand,
yeah.
right? So the world does not need a million websites, probably not 500,000. And if I'm a brand, I probably don't need more than 1,000, maybe even 500 websites to advertise on to sufficiently cover my audience.
Mm.
And that could be the top 1,000, taking away the ones you can't advertise on, Wikipedia, or more cynically, other ones. Um, but like, take the 1,000 most advertisable websites. Are you really telling me that most brands can't find their audience there? Now, like, again, if you go to, if you're a camera guy and you want to go to, what is it, like DP Review or something like that,
Yeah.
right? There are certainly specialist and enthusiast sites, but most of those are owned by like a Raptor or a Mediavine at this point. And most of them have been bought up or acquired into like larger publishers. So I just think we wring our hands in programmatic. There is an inordinate amount of conference time and stage time spent worrying about how to help publisher number 210,000.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that's productive.
Uh, they have to help themselves. Like
Correct.
there's a way to become a real company.
There sure
Like
is.
like if you acquire users that advertisers want, advertisers will spend money on your website. That's that
Yep.
simple. Relying on Google to send them to you for free, it's over. As it should have been over years ago, but it's addictive, man. That free Google traffic, it's like crack. Like nobody wants to shut off the thing where it's like, well, we could just write stuff and then they come. Like, no one wants to turn that off. But
That's how you
it's
end up at the Method One acting clinic,
that's right. I
Yep.
completely agree.
There you go.
Um, so we haven't talked about plumbing. I want to use our last couple minutes to talk about plumbing.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk
Okay.
about plumbing.
Yeah.
So, and we can do it in the context of transaction ID. So there's a because we'll spend two
What's
minutes
the
on this.
hubbub about this transaction ID? Recently, I'm seeing this pop up, and I don't follow the news closely enough. I'm like, since when did this become a thing? What's
Oh,
the
I can
issue?
go deep on it. I'm in the middle of
Okay.
this. I'm
Okay.
unfortunately in the middle of this.
Oh,
And
yeah, sorry. Yeah.
like hilariously, I was explaining this actually to Marley before you got on. So in the world of programmatic,
Yeah.
the sell side has had this weird fracture happen.
Yeah.
And the fracture happened when header bidding became a thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so you have header
Right.
bidding, which is an auction of auctioneers. So ad exchanges all have to bid into header bidding after they go and solicit bids from DSPs. So now there are two layers where there used to really be one.
It's the 43 by 43 cookie sink.
Yeah, this is, yes,
I get it.
because the exchanges are all trying to sync with their DSPs. So it's a whole mess.
Yep. Yep.
So The side effect of this is that every DSP now gets hit with every bid request from every ad exchange they work with, even though there's one auction. So this one
Yeah,
auction fans out
I
to
get
10
it.
exchanges. Yep. So there's a bunch of shenanigans that's going on
Yeah, it's great.
that oh God. That mean that those bid requests from all those exchanges, when they hit the DSP, you can't really tell that they're from the one auction because people wiggle around the user ID, they
Oh
wiggle
yeah.
around other parameters. It's wild what goes in there. So
And if it's iOS, it's a totally made up transaction ID. So go ahead.
well, the thesis behind transaction ID was supposed to be that transaction ID is generated on the page for the auction and is sent through with
Uh,
fidelity to the trade desk.
Good luck.
And well, they had it going. It was going for a while.
Okay.
And Prebid actually tanked it. So Prebid said, actually, instead of having one transaction ID that's going to apply to all bidders in the auction that needs to then go to the trade desk, we are going to make these bidder specific. And that means that the trade desk doesn't know. They know within OpenX that, oh, these 4 bid requests from OpenX are all part of the same transaction on the page, supposedly, because they could still make them up. But they don't know, oh, this request from OpenX, this request from Pubmatic are part of the same on-page auction.
Hmm.
And that change was done unilaterally by Prebid. And the trade desk is pissed. Um, and so the reasoning here, and this is so getting back to our pipes analogy. Does a CMO or agency need to care about this? No.
I mean, a CMO doesn't care about this. Whether or not they
Yeah.
need to, they don't. And I think a CMO spends, if you look at like McKinsey's modern marketing organization, media is going to take 10% of their time. Programmatic is going to take what, 20% of that, which rounds to zero most weeks, maybe even most months. And plumbing rounds to zero every day, twice on Sunday, and for the next 10 years. And so there is an inordinate amount of conference time and podcast time spent talking about the plumbing. The reality is the plumbing is not that complicated. It's made complicated by people who don't have a competitive advantage and are mad about it. Right. It's like
I agree.
I am mad. I want to have a competitive advantage and I don't. And so therefore I'm going to make the plumbing harder. And then everyone's going to have to listen to me. And again, this is a supply problem, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe they just shouldn't be in business and then it would be easier on everybody. But then, people, they go to an agency and convince them that the tonality and the sentiment of their user pages, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's just so much obfuscated absurdity that is put out there. I mean, like I'm looking through all the companies that said on Terry Kawaja's post, like, hey, we're AI, you should take a look at us. And I'm looking at these and I'm like, I didn't know people still believe these things.
Yeah.
Like, I really thought that all of the, like, we infer the this and the this and we do. And I'm like, are you nuts? Like, you really have to be nuts to like be a buyer at an agency and think, I think this is what has a better chance than anything else to make my clients' money spent the best way possible. You're out of your mind.
So so I so agree. And one of the things about this 20, so I love this 20% of 10% of 10%, right?
Yeah.
So was that the number? 20% of
Yeah.
10. So what are the things that will increase mind share in a bad way? Right? And I feel like if numerator goes up, that's bad. Or if people buy things where they don't know what it is, and then it's egg on their face, that's bad. And one of the questions I wanted to ask when you were coming on is how is programmatic viewed? Like at what point is it so small that it's a liability because nobody knows what's going on, and you end up with a bad headline, and it's like just spend the money somewhere safe. Like,
So I think that is the CTV dilemma of the future.
hmm,
I think even if there are 500 websites that are worth advertising on, I'm not going to go send out 500 IOs.
yeah,
But are there really more than like 8 CTV channels? right? And
You're gonna preach to the choir on this one. I don't understand CTV programmatic. It doesn't make
because
sense to me.
they come to me and they're like, but you might miss out on Crackle. I promise you, I'm not missing out on Crackle, right? And I'm sure Crackle is wonderful for a
Oh,
certain.
they're watching right now, and they're like, those motherfuckers.
No, but broadly, the 38th most valuable CTV app. If I never buy it, I don't care.
Yeah.
And so this is the thing. Why do you need the DSP? Well, you need it for decisioning. Well, but Snowflake has some interesting uh products or
Yeah,
ways.
Adam's always telling the fragmentation is a Snowflake thing when Adam talks about it. He's like, oh, the data lives here, and you have the applications that then plug into the data.
Right. And but I think the supply of programmatic companies is way too high. And those companies have to create problems in the space to appear to be the ones to solve them. Like, no one ever asked for curation. I mean, again, this is plumbing. So can you imagine you go to the chief construction officer of Marriott Hotels and you're like, we have a curated, sentimentality inferred selection of PVC pipes for your new hotels. And they're like, why does that have to be curated? Like, why can't I just look and go, that pipe's that thick? You've been in business this long. I think I'll just buy that. Right. And like, and isn't it the job of an agency to figure out what to buy anyway? Now you're paying a third party to curate what an agency should figure out in the first place, which we can go deep on that. But like,
Yeah,
yeah, ad tech
I agree.
ad tech has scored more own goals than any industry I've ever witnessed.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's been an ecosystem because you've been around since Right Media. There's been an ecosystem where smart people have figured out, ooh, I can just pop myself in the middle here, and I can skim percentage points off of these transactions. And there's been no way to report on it properly in DSPs. DSPs still don't know. We're having an argument about transaction ID today. The reason we're having that argument is the DSP is just trying to figure out what they're buying. That's all that they're trying to do. They don't want to bid into the same auction 10 times. They're just trying to figure out what's going on. And we're having an argument about it, and it's like, well, we shouldn't be having this argument. We're having this argument. Like, gosh, if agencies actually knew what this was, they would be like, wait,
Well, and that's the
my
thing.
buying system's bidding against itself 20 times? No.
Well, and
Don't spend that money. You're done. See you
and,
later,
and
programmatic. Bye.
yeah, so but this this goes all the way back to brands essentially want agencies to work for free now, right? So agencies say, well, okay, what's the least amount of effort and labor I can put into this because I'm not getting paid well, right? And
Curators. Yeah.
so a curation company surfaces and goes, hey, we're going to take 10%, but we're going to make sure we do this. And the agency goes, it's really not a bad deal because we don't have the money to pay for someone to do this in the first place.
Yep.
Right. So the client ends up paying for it. But to our point very early on about procurement or whatever else, some agency snowed some client at some point with their fees. And so now there's all of these rules to make them pay very little for an agency. But it's a squishy balloon issue, right? If you squeeze here, it just gets fat over here. And if you squeeze here, it gets fat over here. So, clients end up paying the money. It's just whether or not they know it and how directly.
And they just got to police their numerators. Someone has to police the numerator, man.
Damn right, man.
Someone has to police the numerator.
I think we
Somebody.
solved it.
That's gosh. I mean, I'm stealing that, by the way. Just like going
Please.
forward, like the numerators are everything, and someone has to police them. And because you're absolutely right, the magic of curators is they go, I'm gonna hit your numerator for you. Don't think about it. Like just don't think about it. I'll make it happen. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me what my fees are. You shouldn't care. I'm gonna hit your numerator, and there it is.
Yeah, the guy who came to me and he said, you don't need a security system. I've got some guys, and we're just going to make sure no one ever breaks in. Just don't worry why and how it happens. And I go, no, I want to worry why and how it happens. I don't want people walking around my house, near my house with shotguns being like, we got you covered, buddy. Like, I don't want that happening.
I don't want to pay them off by accident.
Right, right. What favors do I owe you later?
Yeah, that's not what I'm trying to do. I just want my house to be
Yeah.
safe. Amazing. Jay, thank you so much for coming on. This has been
Yeah,
a
I hope
wonderful
someone.
conversation.
I saw like random things flying up the screen throughout this,
Oh.
so maybe they were all like anger emojis or something, and you know, you've just lost a lot of viewership, but hopefully we're in good shape. And
No, I think the transaction ID discussion is an important one because people need to realize that these are not arguments. These are just plumbing, like there's a crack in the plumbing. We just have to patch it and move on.
we
'Cause yeah.
we need to call out people when they're doing things for self-interest more than for community interest. And it sounds to me like canceling this transaction ID thing is to prevent perceived self-interest or to promote self-interest. I can't imagine why having a single ID on a page for an ad slot anyway is a
For
bad
an
idea.
auction. For an auction. It just
Right.
it's
Can you imagine if the same item on eBay was listed 10 times and I didn't know what auction to bid into?
and so you bid into all 10 and that's exactly what's going on here. And you don't know it's the same thing and you bid 10 times so they can extract the highest price from you. That's literally what this is.
It's, yeah, I won that used blender, right? But I just paid more than I probably could have bought it for new.
It is somebody asked me about financial markets in this and I was like, yeah, because what's happening here would be illegal. Like
100%.
you can't misstate attributes of a stock. Like that's not allowed. Like there's a disclosure law. You have to tell people exactly what they're buying when they buy something. The fact that we don't do that is actually kind of crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah, man. But Jay, this was wonderful. I will see you around. See you on the internet. And, hopefully meet you in person one day.
Thanks.
Thanks, man.
Yo, the crowd is back, the lights are dim, front rows buzzing, it's